and that person is using the power of the executive to be totally out of line, well, like, what would conservatives even enact violence about? They would have nothing to protest. They'd have nothing to riot over. I imagine it would be probably more left-leaning people that would be rioting.
That would be rioting?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, like the Tesla burnings that were happening, it was all premeditated. They had the, what is it, the Doge, dogechase.com or something like that, that kind of premeditated all that. So, like, my thing is that when I look at the Trump election and how he got elected.
By the way, we've talked about this before, okay? But I literally cannot give more of a fuck about the Tesla burnings or any of the Tesla shit, because I guess apparently now Republicans care more about cars than people, or about like rule of law. But you know, this is the reality that we live in right now, where we care more about the Teslas burning. We care about more about scraps and hunks of metal than we do about like fucking rule of law. Like yeah, just cringe.
And maybe I can ask you this. I think one of the reasons that Trump got elected in the first place was because when you say, like, for example, with your other opponent here, when you say
no
the
morals,
MAGA
no
right
stress.
is a cult, I'm thinking in my head that the Democrats.
Wait, what? Me? I don't have any morals? Hello? Same. I'd rather talk about tariffs and deportation. It's like I'm bringing up January 6th over and over again to own the MAGTAR. Yeah, exactly. Isn't the Tesla burning thing the rule of law itself? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Democratic Party at this point is actually a cult as well, you know, regardless of what it is. Now,
Who's our cult leader?
oh, well, here's the thing. I don't know who the cult leader is, but it's
Wasn't
the
that kind of
Democratic Party as a
important?
whole, right? No, well, here's the thing. It could be a cult without it because, like, for example, vote blue no matter who. You've heard that phrase, right? The anti-Trump tour, like we're on right now. It's a cult that's against Trump no matter what, right? So we've seen this to where Elon Musk at one point had the Tesla vehicles that a lot of left-wing people.
Like, you can't have people burning cars for political reasons because it's illegal and undermines the rule of law. Okay, so I think burning cars obviously is bad, right? But the problem with saying this to a MAGA person is that they will ignore Trump pardoning all the January 6th protesters, but then they will hone in on issues like the Tesla burning cars as if that is like the most major issue in the world, right? Like, you see this time and time again. MAGA, whenever violence happens that is bad for the left and is good for MAGA, like, they will just say, oh, well, you know, who cares, right? Nobody cares. Let's just not even talk about this issue, right? But the moment that the moment it's about like Tesla cars or something where the cars are being burnt or something, oh, now suddenly it's like the biggest thing ever. It's domestic terrorism. But then, you know, when was the last time you've seen MAGA call like January 6th domestic terrorism, right? Because I would actually argue that January 6th is much more domestic terrorism than burning Tesla cars will ever be, ever, forever, right? 100%, right? I'll stand on that 100%. And here's the thing, okay? Like, even if you roll out January 6th, there's plenty of other examples that I can go to, right? For example, when the Pizzagate shooter was traveling to what pizza parlor, right? The alleged pizza parlor in which like Hillary Clinton is supposedly harvesting adrenochrome from little children and like drinking their blood and basking in their organs and shit, right? When he went over there and started shooting up the place, no, I don't notice anybody on the left going, I'm sorry, anybody on the right going like, oh wow, that was domestic terrorism. That was some unhinged shit. But then everybody on the left, whenever they mention it, every single right-leaning person just brushes it off, right? That guy was alone though. I don't think that was a substantial political movement. Wait, what are you talking about? That was still a political violence for the sake of like a political message, right? Like, that was violence for the sake of a political message. It was 100% a political movement, right? Like, are you gonna say like QAnon is not a political movement? 100% was a political movement, right? That guy enacted something on the behalf of a political movement, right? And by the way, like, before you say, oh my gosh, well, you know, that was just like one guy, that was just like a lone wolf. Well, I mean, like, the guy who stabbed the black guy in the bleachers was also technically a lone wolf, but then you see the right, like, fucking focusing in on that one, right? Oh, well, because one is black and one is white, right? Like, do you see now? Do you see how now for every single issue that the right likes to talk about, there's always going to be a left-leaning issue as well? Like, the hypocrisy is insane to me. Yeah, I don't know.
we're buying. Then of course Elon Musk wasn't.
And by the way, for the bleacher stabbings, like you see the right wing talking about how like, oh my God, oh well, you know, why don't we see George Floyd protests? They're the ones that are making it political, right? And then you also see the father of the white victim, right, essentially saying, hey, by the way, it would be awesome if you didn't politicize my son's death, right? But then, oh well, the right wing's gonna do it anyway, right? Like fuck it,
necessarily
whatever.
supporting Trump at first. He was a Ron
Trying to
DeSantis
cause a
guy,
race war,
etc. Then
right?
he turned to Trump. Then we saw that after he supported Trump and he donated it to him, we saw a lot of the left wing kind of burn down Teslas and be violent about this, right?
Well, I don't really think that was the only thing he did. I think it was also the fact that he joined Trump as an unelected bureaucrat and began unilaterally shuttering federally approved agencies in the government while like engaged in the most insane over-the-top rhetoric on X.
What's the most insane over-the-top
Like
rhetoric?
constantly calling for judges to be impeached or imprisoned, or saying that
I mean, I don't why eating babies is a bad rap. I don't personally like that. I prefer who cares. Okay, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm not right or left. Hello? Who the fuck asked? Okay, I don't think race baiting is a party exclusive bad behavior though. No, it's way worse on the right. Okay, now that I think about it, it's way worse on the right. Yeah.
Which judges? I'm not too sure.
the recent judge that just made a ruling related to basically anytime a new TRO gets issued, I think that he's done it for the Zini lawyer. I think he's done it for Brasberg. He tweets about judges.
So he wanted to get them removed because
he doesn't like it when they issue a TRO against Trump. But wait, just real quick, you're not familiar with Elon engaging in any like anti-judicial rhetoric on X?
Like, I know Elon Musk has stated that he doesn't like these individuals, which is fair enough. He has his opinion, right?
But it's not just his opinion, right? He's like the richest man in the world, who's the right-hand man of the
president. Yeah, sure, but you have an opinion too. Like, for example,
I'm not an elected official. I don't work in government.
Well, you have a huge influence when it comes to your audience, right?
Yeah, but I don't work in government.
Yeah, but what does that matter? Like, here's the thing.
Well, if I was part of the government and I was calling for another part of the government to be destroyed, I think that would be really scary. Yeah, but I would make
an argument that influencers and even actors, etc., actually have more influence on the public than even politicians.
Than most politicians is probably true.
Yeah,
that's why. Donald Trump, because he's a cult leader, probably not.
But even with you, I think you have more influence than on the public than most politicians.
Individual, yeah, that's probably true.
Probably true. That's what I'm
saying.
Most
for sure, especially city council.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when you say, well, I don't work in government, at the same time I could say, yeah, but you have more influence on the public than most politicians, right?
No, I agree. I was just pointing out why people would probably have such a visceral reaction to everything Elon Musk has done. I think it's super warranted that people would feel horrified by it.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. Okay, I get you there. But I wanted to shoot this back here. When you were stating that, when I was stating that one reason that I think that Donald Trump specifically won this election was also because I think that the left, like you admitted earlier, is notorious for violence, right? We had the BLM riots, the Chaz that happened, right, in Seattle, the Tesla burnings. So I think a lot of the people that voted for Trump was also noticing.
Is Elon still part of the government? He says he's stepping back next month or so, but yeah, who knows?
That the left is absolutely lunatics when it comes to this type of rhetoric. And Maxine Waters, even in 2016, when she was, when Trump won his first term, where she was saying, get in the face of MAGA supporters. When I was, because I'm from South Texas, I would wear a MAGA hat at a bar, and I was getting attacked by people that didn't like that. You know, I think this is what drove a lot of people towards Donald Trump to vote for him, wouldn't you say?
Can you just imagine being like the jackass that wears the MAGA, dude? Oh my God. I remember when I was doing when I still had a job, okay? When I was like doing my job, right? And then somebody outside was like, they were wearing like a MAGA hat, and they were like, "Oh, good day, ma'am, right?" Or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, good day to you too." But then it's like, dude, these people are, dude, they're like wearing this shit outside. Dude, it's crazy. It was such a hot day too. A job, what's that? What's job? Good question. Obviously, the right won by a huge margin. Anybody can fucking bullshit their way into a job, okay? Including Trump. But he isn't doing that much of a good job right now, though. Just look at the latest polling.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, but
Don't you think it's
So
like
what?
kind of a big deal though?
No, because I think that they don't talk about any of the violence that their side is ever supporting, either explicit or implicitly, at all points in time as well. So, how am I supposed to feel bad that people are complaining about Tesla dealerships being burned down, but then they're clapping when people are being deported without due process from this country? I have absolutely no sympathy. And the fact that they can keep doing this hand-wringing of like, the left is so bad and they won't disavow these people, even though the left has to disavow its own side all the time. When Biden...
I don't see any of the left doing that though.
I don't know how much you're looking at.
Well, I watch your show.
Okay, well,
Like, for
Biden
example,
literally...
like, you
wait,
didn't
wait,
even
Biden-
disavow.
Biden-
You didn't even disavow the assassination of Donald Trump, bro.
I wish.
Assassination?
It was an assassination attempt, okay?
Oh yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey, but am I right there, Destiny? Come on, man. Come on,
just
man.
Jokes.
Come
Just
on, man.
jokes. Just jokes. So you can have a standard for my behavior. You can talk about whether my behavior is over the line or not. But I think it's very different when you compare the behavior of somebody in government versus me, who's like a
But
pundit.
also, you're a guy that has more influence than politicians. That's my point.
Yeah, but it's a different type
than
of
the vast
influence.
majority.
It's a different type of influence, though, right?
What's the difference? Tell me.
There's a different expectation for behavior for things that that I would have versus somebody who's part of the government. Would you agree, or do you think it's the same?
I would agree that your influence would actually affect people's behavior more so than some random person.
No, it's not. It's about the expectation of like behavior or what would be proper. So if I was an elected official and I was working in the executive branch, it means something a lot different for me to say I hate this judge than if I was just like a pundit and I was like I hate this judge. I think
Right.
Those are so you can have a totally different standard expectation of behavior regardless of how many people you influence or not, just based on the role that you occupy.
Yeah. Well, I get you there, but like my point is that I think you have way more influence than the vast majority of politicians. So that's why I'm saying like when you shoot the rhetoric when Cory, fucking don't even remember the guy's last name.
Not Cory Booker.
Cory something. I don't know. But he passed away, and you were stating something, and you doubled down on Piers Morgan. You said, fuck Cory, fuck his supporters, etc. I think also with your rhetoric, when you were stating that stuff, I think that leaned a lot of people watching that sit and said,
He was looking for
Destiny's a
debate,
fucking psychopath. I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but
like,
at
wouldn't
some
you say
point,
that kind of hurt?
at some point, it like. I don't want to change the diaper of a 25-year-old. Like, for somebody to go online and to be making, like, all of these jokes, as Dave Rubin had, and he was on that episode with me, about the guy, the psychotic dude, that broke into Pelosi's house and was, like, with a hammer was smacking this dude. It was insane and unhinged. And then, again, to, like, have the tears whenever it happens on their side, I think... I would rather be unhinged and force the conversation than have to live in this world where the left constantly has to apologize for all of its own stuff and the right pretends that nothing ever happens on their side.
Take this?
Because like
I
the
think
same,
the opposite there.
what?
Though. Yeah, I'm thinking the opposite there, Destiny. Like it's kind of crazy
Donald
because
Trump came in and he pardoned every single J6er and nobody on the right cared.
Yeah, well, look at the thing. Joe Biden pardoned his entire family and like what is it, 8,000 people before he left office.
So the large so two different things. The large swaths of people that were pardoned.
Wait, hold on. Did he actually pardon 8,000 people? God, that's so fucking base, dude. Let's fucking go.
That was like a technicality for commuting sentences.
Do you agree that Hunter Biden should have been pardoned?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes. And I think that because he has no tact or political understanding whatsoever, Donald Trump proved it when Donald Trump complained on, I think it was an NBC interview, and he said, I can't go after any of the people on the J6 Select Committee because Biden pardoned them.
Well, yeah, that's true, though, right?
Yeah, but
it's not like he's...
Bro, I'm still flabbergasted about how he literally bragged about, like, wearing a MAGA hat to the local bar. Like, how much of a fucking... Dude, how much of an attention-seeking loser do you have to be? Like, you have to, like, lack all self-awareness to wear that shit to the bar, dude. Like, bro, like, I wouldn't even be wearing, like, a Biden shirt to the bar. Like, what the fuck, dude? I just imagine some kind of like huge douchebag just wearing that to the bar. Bro, why the fuck would you brag about that? Oh my god.
Lying there. He can't go after them.
He wanted to go after them politically. There are no crimes
He
here. He just wants to target.
puzzle? I
And
have
we've
no
seen this
idea.
administration,
I don't know
would you
where to
agree,
find
has
it.
engaged in the targeted lawfare.
I would say that even the Biden administration had the targeted lawfare against Donald Trump as well.
And give one example of that?
Okay, well, for example, what's her name? When the judge went after Donald Trump's real estate, right? He said his real estate over there in Florida,
Mar-a-Lago, yeah.
Yeah, that shit. It was worth $18 million, right? We can see from the papers that shit's worth at least $600 million. They're going after his real estate to kind of backtrack on him.
Well, yeah, but wait, what does that have to do with Biden? This is
well, because it's targeted prosecution.
But it's not Biden.
Because you asked me the question. Give me.
No, I asked you. Show me
an example of that.
Donald Trump is
Bro,
writing
I'm so
executive orders,
confused.
literally targeting.
I'm answering your question though, Destiny. You asked me to give you an example of that.
Of Biden doing it.
Well, no, well, the Democratic Party. Remember, you guys are the vote blue no matter who party. You guys are the cult of that, right? It's not like you guys go after Donald Trump. When it comes to the Republican Party, it's kind of, I would say, probably 70.
Oh, dude, being anti-cult means you're actually part of the cult. Got him, dude.
You guys go after Donald Trump. When it comes to the Republican Party, it's kind of, I would say, probably 70-30, where it's like MAGA and then Republican, right? Your Nikki Haley,
You're the real
Mike Pence,
cultist.
etc., the
Got
ones that
him.
don't support Donald Trump. So it's kind of more divided than the Democratic Party. You guys are a lot more united on that, right?
Donald
And
Trump literally ejected his entire.
when it comes to
The
Trump, guys, when it comes to
anti-cult,
Trump,
yeah.
everybody from the progressive side, from the liberals, all of you guys are anti-Trump. I mean, this is just a big
but I mean, like, wouldn't that make sense if the guy is so divisive? And the Republicans are super pro-Trump. Like the approval
You
rating.
mean the MAGA Republicans?
No, I mean Republicans. I mean,
Like Nikki Haley's super pro-Trump?
yeah, they all
Fuck
support her
no,
now.
she's not, dude.
You can say
Not
that, but
even to
Donald
that
Trump, the
degree.
only thing that was buoying his approval for so long was the fact that on the Republican side, literally no matter what he did, it was like 88%, 92%, 87%, 90%
Yeah.
approval. Like he had a pretty wide support from the majority of the Republican Party.
No, yeah, for sure. But like even
But just on the thing. So like,
Yeah.
because I can think of several horrible like legal targeting things that Donald Trump has led, but can you think of anything that Biden or Biden's administration, so not a judge in Florida, but like something that Biden ordered? Because that judge could just be an asshole judge, right? It's not necessarily Biden on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to the Democratic, and I'll tell you this: Biden, of course, he was the face of the Democratic Party for 4 years, right? We
Yeah.
can say that. Also, the Democratic Party as a whole.
Damn, this guy's outpaced Destiny intellectually. How? I feel like he's making the typical MAGA talking points, right? Tesla burnings, blah blah blah, right? Like, yeah, he's a fucking dumbass.
That's what I'm saying. Where you guys are a lot more notorious for violence, and that's why I'm saying my point here is that a big reason why Donald Trump won that election, not only because of the assassination attempt, right, which you said you wish the bullet hit him, that would have been the best thing. Didn't happen, thank God.
I didn't say those words exactly, but
Well, something along those lines. I think you said it with Rob Noor or somebody
Okay.
along those lines. I can't remember exactly.
You got about a
But-
minute, Jake.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
you
you.
got-
But my point is that I think that with that type of rhetoric, along with, for example, you guys lying about Joe Biden's, mental health, right? That was another big one. Jake Tapper on CNN.
why do you assume that people lied about his health and weren't just either coping or?
Well, even well, that's my point here. Even Jake Tapper.
Wait, you can't say that's
Jake Tapper is literally writing a book about how he covered up, CNN covered up Joe Biden's
If there was a coordinated
mental
effort to
health.
cover up Joe Biden's mental health, why did they let that debate happen?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Well, no, you can't just say that's
they
the
let
thing.
it
No,
happen.
that
Yes,
totally contradicts the entire narrative
This
you
is
gave.
why they let it happen specifically because they let it happen. They let him train for like what, a week or something like that by himself. They wanted to
What,
prep
like
him for
200
that
times
because they
gravity?
couldn't
What does that
avoid.
mean?
They can't avoid a debate.
Of course, Trump dodged the debate. Wouldn't you?
Like, this is, dude. It's like Trump can do no wrong, right? No matter what, the answer is always going to be correct, right? Like, okay, so if Biden did not debate, it's they're hiding Biden's like mental fucking failure from the public, right? Oh, but then if Biden did actually debate, it's clearly you can see how mentally unwell Biden is. Like, you just can't win. You literally cannot win. It's either Biden clearly is mentally unwell, or they're clearly trying to hide Biden's unwellness. It just makes no sense, dude.
When he was running, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, Biden. That's the thing. They let Biden
Like,
debate.
there
He
is
got
no
totally
losing
smashed,
or winning or
right?
whatever. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Republican-
don't
the
understand
MAGA
how if there was a whole coordinated effort to cover up Biden's senility, why would they ever
for
let him
years
debate?
prior before they couldn't hold it up for so long. They let him debate. They had to do it eventually.
What? No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Well, then that's going to make them look bad. when
Didn't
it comes
Donald
to the
Trump avoid a
election.
second debate with Kamala? Didn't Donald Trump avoid debating any of the?
No, he didn't.
Nikki
he didn't
Haley
need to,
or
he didn't need
DeSantis?
to debate Kamala, bro.
This is the
'Cause,
all roads lead to
well,
Rome
no,
thing,
it's
right?
not,
So he can
because-
do the
well,
exact
here's the
same
thing,
behavior you say that
Destiny.
Biden couldn't get away with doing.
Well, Destiny, look at it like this, dude. You're a top tier debater. Why would you, unless you get something? In other words, debating me, you get nothing out of this, right? The only thing that gets something out of this debate is me, right? So when Trump is gonna debate Kamala for the second time, he gets nothing out of it. At that point, Joe Biden looks like a moron. The assassination attempt already happened. The only thing Donald Trump has to do is just fuck it. I don't care to debate Kamala because he feels he already has the debate in the bag.
I understand the
Doesn't need to do
political
that.
savvy that goes into this,
Well,
and the
yeah,
calculation. But I'm just
you
saying
asked
that
why he avoided that second debate.
Yes,
Tell
and you're
me
giving
this
me
is
the
why.
logical
These are
reason.
taxes.
But when we look at Biden doing a debate, if he was truly being covered for by the entire Democratic establishment, then it stands to reason that they would find reasons for him not to do the debate.
Yeah, but they had to do it eventually, right?
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They can just say we don't do debates. He's too divisive.
Okay, and then they're gonna lose the election.
Wait, didn't Trump refuse to do a debate against? Hold on, like I feel like for a while, like Trump was considering not doing a fucking debate with Kamala Harris, like, dude. And then he got absolutely fucking rolled, right? Brother, pay attention. True.
This is why it's
Well,
like
they lost
okay, either
anyway,
have
no?
them, and yeah, they lost anyways for sure. So it didn't
Respect.
work. That's what I'm saying.
Respect
I think the
taken.
Democratic Party probably should have got rid of Biden earlier, and then put in Kamala Harris. Which, by the way, nobody here voted for Kamala Harris to be the representation of the Democratic Party.
Sure, so
even
let's
though
say-
Trump is obviously the threat to democracy there.
Well,
right?
because in 2020 he tried to make it so none of the votes mattered, and he could just have Pence say who won the election. I would say that's probably worse. The issue with the story, the narrative you're giving, is that like, how is it that the Democrats were all in lockstep? Like, there's two stories.
Okay.
Either people were genuinely torn on, like, is he just old? Is he actually senile? What's going on? And they just kind of like kept it going, because why would you take out a person who just beat this guy in the last election? Why would you run somebody different and get rid of your incumbent advantage and get rid of a guy who already beat? Like, that's a really
probably
extraordinary
because
thing to do.
he has mental health
That's
issues.
fine, but like,
That would be
were
the
they genuinely confused about that? Or was there a top-down plot to cover up how senile he was the
Sure.
entire time that
Yeah.
went through all of the media and all of the presidency, but they weren't strong enough to just not have one debate?
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing, Jake Tapper. And here's the thing: you want to paint the picture to where it's like, okay, they wanted to cover it up. Even Jake Tapper in CNN, who is writing a book about this called "The Cover."
This guy is so, dude. We need him debating Destiny every day. Okay, this guy needs to be debating Destiny every day. Okay, that would make the stream so much better.
Up on Joe Biden's health.
Do you normally cite Jake Tapper on things you believe, or just in this one time?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I watch CNN plenty of times, man. I watch.
Do you
CNN,
normally
I watch
cite
yourself.
CNN?
It's like, okay, whenever they say like, oh yeah, I watch CNN plenty of times, it's like, oh, I watched CNN clips on Twitter, on my Twitter feed, sorted out by other people that I already agree with all the time. That's typically what it means, right? Like, what the fuck is I watch CNN all the time? You either watch it or you're watching it on your Twitter feed.
Is
Okay?
it a credible source?
yeah.
Is like
I could
party-
cite him at times. Yeah, sure. When the argument's here, I'm just saying Jake Tapper had inside information. Wouldn't you say that?
Who's Destiny talking to here? Random boyo. Okay, he's just a regular MAGA person. Like they have to register to debate Steven. Yeah.
Jake Tapper has better
without even
information
reading
than
the book,
you when
without
it comes
even
to
reading the
CNN?
book, my guess is going to be what he's saying is that people saw Biden and they tried to give him favorable coverage because they weren't sure and they didn't want him to look bad, but not
Sure.
that they genuinely thought that it was like a lost cause and he was super senile and they were trying to hide that from the American public. Because if that was the case, they would have never had the debate. It's so obvious.
No, it's not obvious. Destiny. Here's the thing: when you have
Last
the
thought,
entire.
Jake. Last thought.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, just last thought on
No,
here.
don't let him go away.
Destiny, thank you so much for the exchange. That's for sure. It was really good. But I will tell you this, guys. When it comes to the last election here, Donald Trump won this because of the fault of the Democratic Party. The assassination attempt. And then I'll even say Elon Musk, even buying X, did help Donald Trump in the long run, right? When it was Jack
Long
Dorsey,
run?
he got kicked out, etc. So that was kind of a thing that kind of helped out there. But I think the Democratic Party shot themselves in the foot, and this is why we have Donald Trump, and people want Donald Trump right now. So that's
Comedically
that's
big
really what
blowout.
it is.
Shut up.
Destiny, thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Have a good one.
Right.